that business persons and salesperson do, I believe across the world, must be the misconception that the major purpose of marketing and selling is to close a business and to make a sale. And today, my friends, I want to suggest to you that the biggest and the major purpose for which you market and sell is to acquire a new customer. And if you can appreciate and follow me closely, I am going to share with you simple ways you can use that principle to make a little more money for yourself. I believe now I can say, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Apuuli.
Allow me first take you back 20 years ago, where I believe I was introduced to the concept of sales by my mother in his shop. And also I had to sell water on a borehole. A few years later, I was introduced to selling the East African community integration to the youths within this country. And then I was introduced to multi-level marketing. I was selling forever living products. Those things of network marketing bring more and then you make more. That is about 2013, 12, 13. And in 2016, I got the privilege to sell insurance with Prudential. And from Prudential, I went on to sell court processes to the citizens of this country with the judiciary. And later, ladies and gentlemen, 2 decades later, I am now selling programs that teach people how to speak with confidence, sell with clarity, and also scale. And in all that I've told you, I can only remember one story that I would want to share with you. And then we begin to learn. My first big sale in Prudential was a gentleman called Wilson. I met Wilson in Naguru. I was under a team led by Daniel Wasworth. I see a gentleman driving a Range Rover and in khakis, and then I wonder whether he's a driver or the owner. And Daniel tells me, there's only one way to find out. I went to spoke to the bandit, and he gave me a case in dollars. And every time it paid out, I would earn 5 million shillings and not less. Of course, some of you would wonder, then why did you leave? Okay, that's why some people thought I have a problem. My friend here didn't agree with me at all to leave Prudential. Actually, kept on engaging me until I even left judiciary. He was still engaging me to come up to Prudential. But that story, if I'm to finish it, I want to tell you something. That every time I met Wilson was in a posh hangout or a posh neighborhood with the posh-looking friends. And one day I eavesdropped a conversation where they were talking about deals of about billions and billions. I won't say the organization those gentlemen and ladies were coming from, but he told me later, Apuuli, I'll give you my friends. I remember it was at Cafeteria at Acacia. Guess what? Apart from the 5 cases he gave me, I never sold any of his friends. Neither did I make any other sale from him. And none that he had limited capacity. So when I think of that story, I get to think, how much more would I have made if I had the knowledge I have now? But at the same time, I understand that one of us or all of us, rocky or not, there are times when you wonder, how do you get more cases from one person? And in the wisdom of our leader, he advised that we talk about how lasting impressions will guarantee customer retention. So today, allow me to assert to you that leaving a lasting impression with a client for customer retention is very simple, because all you have is to follow 3 steps. 3. Step 1, learn your setup. 2, calm that person. And 3, deploy the right strategies. So if I'm to think about learning your setup, learning the right setup, I want you to first understand, if they tell you that we are going to retain customers, it means you've already had a customer. In the first place, what we need to first understand, how do you get a customer? Any person that you see that is an adult and is capable of paying some money, we call them suspects, because you don't know them. They could have money, they may not have money. They could be a Wilson until Daniel tells you we can only find out if we talk to them. And one of the panelists said, I used to think maybe they do not have money. But when I started talking to them, I realized they can afford and they're interested. You can't find out unless you create awareness. And when you create awareness, the purpose is to make the suspect become a lead. A person is not a lead if they are not aware of something about what you sell. Some of you collect numbers and call them leads. They are not leads. They are just for numbers and data. Because you could have numbers of refugees. They're actually in need. If you are to contact them, they need you to give them something. Tuko pamoja. When someone has an idea, some financial information about insurance, they have now become a what? A lead. Now your job is to engage them so that you make them a prospect. A prospect is someone who has desire and interest, but they have not yet made a decision to buy. Together? And then after you make them a prospect, now through pitching, you secure an action, and that action, we say you've made a sale and you have a customer. But remember what we said. The major purpose of marketing and selling is not to make money or sell, is to acquire a new customer. Don't mind about how much you're going to make from them. Useless. My public speaking courses, the first, what we call the core product, is just $100. Depending on where you are, you might think it is expensive, but it is very useless. Money, useless, cheap. But the point is, when you come on board, it's my job to make sure now I earn money from you. It is greedy and stupid of you. Sometimes I use hard words so that you remember. It would be greedy and stupid of you, and you'd have failed at what my coach Myron Golden says, that you see, rich people, you'd have failed at this principle. Rich people look at the value of everything, and we, the poor, look at the cost of everything. A Margaret is likely to be willing to invest $100,000 to buy an umbrella for their customer when they are returning insurance policies. For you, you want even to send the boda guy to take the policy, who you call your delivery guy in Pronation. We're going to look at that later. Maybe when you have an insurance policy, maybe you should now buy executive buds that you're going to give this person to keep the policies. That we are going to come to. You can even decide, for my client, for every client I have, 3 months commission, I don't eat.
Talk to them.
I use it to invest and get new leads. I use it to engage other people. I use it to deliver customer satisfaction. My point again is, the major purpose of closing, of selling and marketing is not what? Getting a sale. It is acquiring a customer. Now, when we have a customer, we ask ourselves, how do we retain them? And retention is the process of re-engaging and re-engaging so that they continue bringing you premiums, but at the same time, give you more products. Now you have a client. The reason as why in services we usually call them clients, not customers, it's because you hardly find a service where you don't need repetitive buying. Do you see a doctor only once? A lawyer, a counselor, a pastor, and then at that point, my job ends there. But that's not where the job should end. Now, for my friends here, I would expect that after 3 years from my training today, you never go in the field ever again. Because some of you, I want to challenge you to read the book Retire Young and Retire Early by Robert Kiyosaki. He talks about the principle of the power of network, leveraging the power of network. And he said the formula of getting to know your power of network is 1 by 1 squared. That when you have 1 customer, it means your power of network is 1 times 1, which is 1. When you have 2, it means your power of network is 2 times 2, which is, when you have 10, your power of network is 10 by 10, which is 100. If you are not getting 100 clients from the 10 you have, there's something you're not doing right. MDR2 should reach a level when you're only reaching out to get the hundreds. Yes, they may come as in leads, but as referrals. Now, if you get your customer, your clients to give you leads and referrals, he has become what we call an advocate. Your job as a salesperson is to acquire a customer, get more business from them, and get them to give you other people to give you business. You said, learn the right setup. And as I am finishing this point, I also want you to appreciate the fact that sales is a game of persuasion. Sales is a game of persuasion. Have you heard of a person called Aristotle? Aristotle came up with the 3 modes of persuasion. The first mode of persuasion is called logos, the logical appeal of your message. How you make people reason through arguments and facts to appreciate what you're selling. The second way is what he called ethos. Ethos is when you sell because of your credibility and confidence. We reach a time when you come driving a G-Wagon, you don't have to tell me that this works. But it also gives them the third one, which we call pathos. Pathos is the emotional appeal of whatever you're selling to the person you're selling to. And usually here we use stories, we use emotions, we appeal to the feeling. That I only brought so that it can connect me to the point I want to make. The second point. And we said the second point is become the right person. And when we are talking about becoming the right person, the topic was about lasting impressions, but we cannot understand lasting impressions before we appreciate first impressions. Let's first understand the difference between first impressions and lasting impressions. You realize first impressions is a past. Lasting impressions is present core. Now, lasting impressions means the craft of opening the door. For those who are here, there's a day I was talking about value and personal branding briefly because someone had alluded to it. I told you, when it comes to value, there's something we call extrinsic value. What we think you are and what we think you can do is more important in the marketplace for the doors to be opened for you. If I go and look at the profile of Lady Rachel on LinkedIn, I would want to meet her even if I don't want to give her anything because of how she looks like on LinkedIn. Have you guys seen her on LinkedIn? Those who haven't, go and be inspired.
Jesus will not knowing book.
What I'm saying, a professional photo is 30,000. Crafting your sales pitch, elevator pitch, takes you only 30 minutes or an hour. And those who were here and the last time I was here, I taught you how to craft an elevator pitch. That people can open their doors for you just because they want to interact with you. But when you get there, we go to the next impression that we've called lasting impressions. Now, this is about your intrinsic value. Your intrinsic value is your actual value. The other is the perceived value, what we think you are, what we think you can do. This one is about what you can actually do. And it's about the tact of keeping the doors open. It's about the act of and the tact of keeping customers coming to you because you have delivered more than you promised, what you said Prudential does. But here's the thing. At becoming the person, you need to work on three C's. Number 1, your character. Some of you, the way you behave, we can't think you're a millionaire and you can sell us $1 million policy. Number 2, your competence. It's not just about knowing the product. I saw when Mag was talking about treasury bonds, some of you were like, now what is that? If you want to call yourself a financial advisor, and I think we've had a conversation with Maggie and a few other people, you need to be able to know financial assets. When she was talking, didn't you feel like if I was that woman, I would also buy? That is the art of selling without selling. And here is another principle I've taught you before. Never sell despite. Even when you really need the sell like as if you have enough time. Do not make a person feel like they need to buy. Make a person feel like they need the value you're bringing to them. But we're going to learn the next factor, which is very important. Let's not first go ahead of ourselves. Then the last C is communication. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, you cannot sell if you can't communicate. You're lying to yourself. Some of you are good at one-on-one, but you're not good at public. Meaning you've deliberately and proudly and arrogantly chosen that there are some cases I don't need. Let me tell you, did you know that if you master the art of standing here, when you speak, people start looking at you as an authority, especially if you've spoken right. During the break time, instead of going to people, they will look for you. One-on-one, you have to look for them. But maybe master the art of presenting online. I was sharing with Rachel that in just the last 1 week and a half, and Brian can testify, my personal assistant, my digital assistant, some of you have my personal assistant's number. In 1 week, I collected 350 leads. and I closed 100. When you present well, you become authority. Work on your communication skills. But for you to work on your communication skills, your competence and character, you need to remember the principle of Maya Angelou. Maya Angelou says, people will forget what you say, but will remember how you made them feel. Would you remember how Maggie made you feel? Would you remember how the panel made you feel like it's possible? You may not even remember what they say. You just feel I was inspired. And here I want to give you a caution. It is a myth and it's a lie. The misconception that people buy value and features and benefits. No. And let me tell you, people buy how you make them feel, but also people buy because they feel like it. Your job is to make sure you create an environment that someone feels like buying. Has someone ever tried to sell to you something downtown and refused, and another person actually makes you buy it? Why? Because another person made you feel like it, the other actually offended you. And someone will ask, how do I do that? The 3 C's. Communication, competence, character. But you may not know how. This is where I'm going to challenge you to do 3 things for me to learn how to have the right character, the right communication skills, and the right competence. Number 1, study those that have made it. Listen more to these guys. Or even if these guys are Kadede, listen to Jesus. If you find Jesus Kadede, then look to the biggest salesperson in Africa. When you meet them, ask them how they did it. That would mean that you'd have to qualify for the diamond for you to meet the biggest salesperson in what? In Africa. Number 2, study your journey. And especially for the leaders, you cannot not have studied your journey. Get some time and write down things you have learned in the process. Things you should adopt as do's and things you should adopt as don'ts. What did you say that worked? What did you do that worked? At what time did you call and they picked? When do they pick mostly? Because sales is the law of averages. And I hope I'll get time to talk about that in a few. The last one is read. And at this point, I'm going to tell you a story about this book that I have put here. When I was working with Prudential, we were still at Greenland Towers, and I was struggling with sales. And I moved out the door. There was a lady on the left who used to sell hankies, sweets, and some books. And this book introduced me to sales, selling for dummies. I have to tell you, it's boring. It's like a textbook. But every time you learn something new, you're excited. And he puts it in very simple things. Now, I didn't say it's a book that has helped me master sales, but I'll tell you it's the book that introduced me to sales and the fundamentals. If you go through this book, you'll find different places where I've taken notes, things I have learned. When I stand here to speak, they didn't come from heaven. They didn't come from what? From heaven. And then from this book, it will introduce me to another book. Now, today, I want to recommend Selling for Dummies by Tom Hopkins. And then I also want to recommend the book, The Greatest Salesman by Oji Madinoa. And then I also want to recommend a book to you called The No BS Guide to Selling to the Affluent. It's by Dan Kennett. But also you may just choose to get a course to learn something you want to learn. And it doesn't matter how much. Let me give you an example. I have a course I call Phrase Pro. The first course is called Phrase 101 in public speaking. Now that is for anyone who wants to just learn how to speak, be confident, speak with clarity, but also express themselves effectively. And then I have a course called Fluency Pro. Fluency Pro is for people who want to sell on stage and with impact. It is 1 million. Now, courses around Kampala, they're actually 1 million about there. I told you mine starts at what? 350. Sometimes I doubt whether anyone can deliver the way I deliver, especially when it comes to public speaking specifically. I would have told you why, but I won't get into that. Maybe I can say I was coached and mentored by the best on the globe. I always say I doubt whether someone can beat Myron Golden at this thing. Anyway, then I have a course called Monetize Your Genius. It is 3.5 million, 12 weeks. When I'm selling it, I don't care whether you buy it or not. Because If you're still struggling to pay 3.5 million, you're probably not the right person to buy that course. Now, that takes you through how to get your knowledge and then sell it. Actually, it teaches you how to make your ideal client look for you. My team will tell you, and my Bible doesn't allow me to swear. I have never, from the time I left public service, pitched. I have never pitched at anyone. Even with my friend here, I didn't look for him, he looked for me. But some of you, your friends know you, but they can't look for you because they don't even know what you do. Tuko pamoja. Okay? What I was trying to say, when you are buying courses, try not to buy cheap courses because they're going to give you basics. A premium course is likely to give you from the basics to the. And why I shared with you my products is I can tell you that, like when you look at my clients who have done Monetize Your Genius, there are few because I've told you it's not for everyone. I can tell you that is my client. Some who did Fluence 101, when they speak, I want to run away. Anyway, work on yourself. That takes me to the last what? Principle. And the last lesson was, do what?
Deploy the right strategy.
Deploy the right strategies. There are strategies that work and don't work. I have assumed you've learned them. Do you know that many people learn from these town hall meetings, but you actually said it. There are many people who want to listen to you but won't deploy what you've taught them. And I like how you brought in social media. Social media is leverage. Some of you are working by labor, not leverage. You have two options to work in sales, either by labor or leverage. Leverage means you use your muscle and time to create value. Leverage means you have another source of power that you use to create money. You do not use time to create money, but you actually use money to buy back time. I was telling Lady Rachel, when I am going to speak, I do not hold my phone. So since morning, I don't have my phone. But that doesn't mean you go on my TikTok and watch any video and click interested or apply. It will take you to a form. And then try to engage and see whether there won't be someone to respond to you and actually sell to you. That's what they call buyback time. At that point, I want to recommend a book called Buyback Time by Dan Mattel. It will teach you how to make time, how to use money to buy you back time and create more value. That is using leverage. But at the same time, relationships are leverage. Those who fear how you look, beauty is leverage. Some of you have gotten into rooms because you're a lady, and a man would not be given that appointment. Do not misuse leverage. I've said use leverage. As I want to go away from this principle of deploy your strategies, I want to leave you with 3 questions that you have to ask yourself. 3 questions you have to ask yourself at this point. And this is where customer retention falls. Question number 1. After you have pitched, remember, we've talked about you already have the customer. And also, now you want to get more from them. After you have pitched and they have bought, ask yourself, what other value can I deliver to them? And here we are going to create what we call a value ladder. It could be out of a product that you see, I have now secured their education. Now, can I make them money? Can I secure their loan? But maybe it could be, yes, I've sold them insurance, but now can I teach them about unit trusts and treasury bonds and stocks and GOATs? Recently, I interviewed the owner of YPA, GOATs. No, I actually interviewed the general manager. Obed was out of the country at the time. And I realized we might be broke because we are stupid. I am not saying that you're stupid when you're broke. I'm saying me, I might be broke because I'm what? Stupid. Me. Maybe instead of being skeptical, how can you come in financial field and when you see people making money, you're skeptical instead of being curious? Do not be a skeptic. Be the curious child and ask yourself, how do the YPA guys make money? And I want to challenge you all. It's actually her, Lady Rebecca. There's a video I made talking about we are going to be a sacrificial lamb for you guys to learn YPA. We are just making it on what?
I bought YPA here at Prudential. The Prudential is partnering with YPA. I am a YPA.
Hallelujah. You are too. You see what I'm telling you about? Some of you are skeptical, and then the people who look different as if rich are the ones making that money. Poverty is going to kill us. My point is, can you go and learn about YPA? That you reach a point, if you were talking to a client and say, if you also have another 20 million to put aside, and we put in YPA, in 3 years, it's going to make 60 million because it does times 3. And if you leave it there, it means 60 million times 3. And leave it another 3 years. Some of you, if you bought your child a goat of 750, anyway, let me not sell for YPA. Let's go back to the point. The point is, do you have something of value you look for them for, and you tell them, I know you bought us, you assured your child is education, but there's this thing that is burning. I always tell my clients, and everyone thanks me, and they say, come talk about, and by the way, you tell them, I don't benefit anywhere in this thing. So create your own value ladder that after I sell to a person, I deliver them this other thing of value and this other thing of value. Maybe come up with a booklet that helps with recording personal finances and go give it to them and teach them how to use it. Question number 2, ask yourself, what else can I talk to them about? In this case, we are going to create what we call a communication sequence. In digital business, we call that the nurturing sequence, the business nurturing sequence. So you ask yourself, after I close, the next text I send to them, and you write it down. Next text I send to them is a thank you. Then after I send them about this product. And then after I send them birthdays for every child. And then after I now go, ask yourself, have a sequence you already know, your pattern, that the moment I close a client, this is the sequence of communication I go through with them. But if you're wondering, where do I get the ideas? Then ask yourself question number 3. My brother, this one is very important for you, the high ender. Ask yourself, what problem? Meanwhile, we are speaking to rookies. So when I'm speaking to these guys, I'm hoping you're looking up to them, right? Ask yourself, what problem have I created with the solution I've offered? Because for every solution you create a new problem. When you create a car, you've created a problem of fuel and spare parts. So now that I've sold them insurance, what problems have I brought to them? Maybe now they are wondering where to keep the insurance policy. That's why I talked about the bag. You say the first commission, I go buy branded, even if it's not branded, executive things. I can buy a bag, take for them and tell them, I know they delivered the policy, but I wanted to deliver to you this bag that can help you keep the policies in one place. And sometimes you tell them it can even help you secure your land titles. I'm sure you have many. Only have 3. You've already gotten another information about them. Make sense? Maybe you've realized now that you've sold them a policy. Unfortunately, I'm told my time is up. So, what I'm saying, ask what the problem is and then create value addition around why you're creating reasons to meet over and over and again. It could be that now you're going to take, you go to them and you see, there's something I have to tell you about your children. You know how we're talking about and we're wondering, I wish we got this financial knowledge when we are young? I am bringing you a free, very nice, lockable with locks, piggyback, money box for your children. And you take to them and you're like, if you can teach your child to do this and this, after this period, they invest in this and this, 10 years from now, they will have this and this, including the policy of this and this. And also, the wealth we've created for them, they will be able to manage it because now you've taught them financial management when they are still young. You remember what I told you? You created a problem that you've made someone buy a policy of 7 million, is leaving a lot of money for their children, but the children may not have the financial skills to manage the money they're going to leave to them. So you tell them, I have brought you now a solution so that your children can be able to manage the money that we are going to give them 10 years from now. The right strategy. Have your strategies laid out and repeat them over and over again. They say, some people lie to you that practice makes perfect. It is not true, because the same people have told you no one is perfect. And then you wonder what to believe. But practice makes better. And every time you reach a particular level, it means you can do better. You could be MDRT, but maybe you can close a case of 100 million in 1 month. So you have to ask yourself, repeat it, improve it. Do as much as you can at the level that you are. So for that reason, ladies and gentlemen, as I'm leaving here, allow me leave you with the words, again, the words of Angeleo Maya. She says, do the best you can till you know better. Then when you know better, then do better. I want you to take advantage of the law of leverages. Do as much as you can, as in the process you're becoming that person and learning better strategies. And when you have better strategies and you become a better person, now sell at best. Because when you do that, my friends, you're going to be able to go through the sales process the right way. I'm going to challenge you with 3 tasks. Number 1, buy a notebook. And that notebook is a journal to study the people you look up to study your own journey, to pick lessons along life, to create new strategies that work for you. Do not use that notebook for notes when you're going to meet a client. That notebook could be a book you use later to create your own book. Should I promote your book? Pre-sales. Hey, we book in advance? I have a book that people are booking in advance. If you watch my videos, should I promote? Now, let me tell you something. If you wrote a book, some of you are playing money at this level. If you wrote a book, you've created passive income because there's someone who wants to get at the level at which you sell. If you wrote down the details that you have, again, sometimes I tell you, go back to Rebecca to explain more whatever you've not understood. If you have written every information you've been learning in the process, there's someone whom you are one step ahead of, right? And they would want to read it. The moment the book is ready, create 10 pieces of content. And every chapter or sub-chapter, it should be a content talking about tips on how to sell better. Create 10 of them. And at the end of every video, you tell them if you're interested in the book. Click here. Here's the thing. My anticipation is that in the next 1 month, a minimum I'll sell 1,000 books. There are 50,000. I use not more than 10,000. It's called voice command. It teaches you how to speak better. It teaches you templates of a persuasive speech, templates of a pitch, and so on. It is in there. But people have started booking for the book before it comes out. There's even a link where you book for it. If you go to my website, apuulibabigumira.com, you can put stroke voice -command. If you book that book and you sell, and I sell 10 of them, 1,000 of them, at how much? 50,000. I've spent 10,000 to produce it. It is self-published. I don't care about publishers. All I care about is value that I'm delivering in that book. Yes, your story could be good, but is there a value in the book? We buy the value. Let's do 1,000 books times 40,000. How much is that? Do the math. If by the grace of God I do 10,000, and here's the thing, the book never dies. And if I sell 10,000 in 1 year, by the way, my reach is also in other African countries. What I'm trying to say is, if you meet Lady Rachel and she tells you, I have helped and groomed teams to sell high-level products, premium products, high tickets, and I'm teaching you in this book, which she's writing, how to do that, you better buy the book. Even when you're a team leader, buy the book to use it to trade others because she has structured the information when yours is everywhere. Journal your book, your story, you learn from it, but you also use it to teach others. And finally, think of what is your leverage. I hope you try the digital leverage. And as you do all that, I hope you always abide in faith, hope, love. But always remember, love transcends. I thank you.